Hey guys, this is Braxton, and this is the third part of a three-part series where Brandon and I both catch up on what's going on in our lives and all of that. So if you haven't listened or watched the first or second part, please go ahead and do that before you go ahead and watch this or listen to this.
I had gotten some feedback from a couple people that felt like, and I was a staunch defender of you in this situation, but there was people that felt like you took over the channel at a certain
Yeah,
point and that you were making it about you.
yeah,
And I never felt that way at all. And even when I loved watching the episodes as they were coming out. Like I was so involved. I was so involved that I lost my fucking wallet one day because I was like so like I was so drawn into like the way you were filming things and the way you were putting everything together that instantly in my eyes, Trailspin was always about both of us.
yeah,
Like instantly, like right off the bat. Like I was never like, even in the beginning, like on the first day when we were on the ferry and stuff, and you were kind of trying to put the, you were trying to put the story together and try to, you were telling a story and you were taking your part and you were kind of, you were putting the camera towards me, but you were putting it on you. And there was parts of that episode that I was like, okay, like I said, like it felt like you were building this character. You were thinking like a filmmaker.
mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the difference between a lot of the channels that are out there, not just in overlanding, but a lot of YouTube creators out there are not thinking like filmmakers and not thinking like storytellers. And you were ready to think like a storyteller. You were ready to tell a story. And
Yeah,
in order to tell the story, even if it was just about me, there needed to be something else there that was cueing me to do certain things or say certain things. And in the beginning, that was what you were doing. As we grew together, I mean, when you're on a trip like this, I kind of compare it to like when I was in like boot camp, like the camaraderie of like being put in these extreme situations really makes you build trust in somebody really quickly and build a friendship really quickly. Like there are people that from that time in my life that are still friends of mine. And I feel like us being put in these extreme situations definitely made us build a friendship really quickly. But also like it just so happens that we had a good dynamic anyway. You were
yeah,
very cool and collect, and I was very like temperamental and flagrant. And also I was focused on the driving and I was focused on the getting us to where we were going. And you were focused on making it look good, making it sound good and
yeah,
all that. And that all together works really well. And I don't, yeah, it's like Expedition Overland's a channel that I always kind of, we've always been compared to them,
yeah, of
not on
course.
purpose, but like a cinematography wise or storytelling wise, like they've always been really good at their job. If their job is to create content that tells a story and to make it look and sound good. To be compared to them like really early on was kind of mind blowing to me, and because they were always a huge inspiration of mine leading up to the trip, and I wanted our channel to kind of that feel like that. And you
Yeah,
did a great job of doing that. But as you grew, as you grew as a filmmaker, like on the trip, and as we grew as friends, as you started to take the reins of the camera more often, I actually felt really good about that because I liked you. You know what I mean? Like I liked you
yeah,
as a friend. I liked you as a person that was on camera, as a personality and stuff like that. And like I always got very upset when people would be like, "Well, it just felt like," there are obviously people that don't like you. There are people
yeah,
that don't like me. There's people that watch the channel that only like you and they don't so much
yeah,
like me. And the people were talking about just crazy stuff. They're like, "Well, I don't like the way he moves his hands when he's on camera." I'm just like, "Well, then don't fucking watch." You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
right.
because the story is both of our story. You know what I mean? Like we both ended up at the same place at the same time because of life. It's just because like that's just the way it worked out. So um Trailspin TV itself is not the same without you. I knew
Yeah,
that the second that like you decided to go do other things, and like I was just like, man, this just doesn't feel right. Like it's me and Braxton. It's not me. It's not my story. So when there's a character missing from the story, it just kind of feels like empty ended and it doesn't feel correct. But yeah, I mean, I just couldn't be more happy with the way that it turned out. You know what I mean? And then
yeah,
the fact that we've kind of been talking earlier about possibly doing a movie about that trip, man. Oh my god, like that would be incredible. And obviously,
yeah,
I would help any way that I possibly could. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just super grateful about it. I'm super thankful. The trip itself is a it's a huge stamp on my timeline in my life, and
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier with like the way it all worked out. I'm super grateful and thankful, even though I lost my job. Um, I didn't like that job anyway, you know.
Yeah. Well, you got another job now. Yeah, I would say definitely that was the one thing I was worried about was like that's part of the reason why I wasn't in part of the reason why I wasn't in front of the camera in the beginning was because like I don't want it to make it to be about me. But then once I kind of figured out your dynamic, I was like, well, he doesn't really like holding the camera himself and all that. And so that's why a lot of the times like I'll just start filming and just ask you a question without you knowing that I'm filming and just to get like the natural reaction. And then like with me on camera, like I'm just trying to like push the story into further into what we're doing and stuff like that. So that's why once I heard like you're like, yeah, I have my own real estate videography business. I was like, it's like, bro, you're filming now. Like, imagine what we can do on a trip. Like,
I
this
know,
is gonna be
dude. It
crazy.
would be crazy. You know, it would, because just even think about how much better you've gotten since that trip
Yeah,
too. Like
yeah,
when you did the first video back, like when you did the video announcing that you bought a when you did the video announcing that you bought a vehicle, the way you told that story and the way you did the parody of the tire thing, like
yeah,
without having talked to you, I felt like I was getting here with like
yeah,
my video career or whatever, like my skill set and all that stuff. Like I was getting better and better and better. And then that video just took me like right back here. I was like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Braxton knows what he's doing. Like, because like that's storyboard type stuff. Like that's like putting thought into like what you're going to do like ahead of
it
time.
is.
Whereas like the trip itself was just on the fly. Like we didn't know what was going to happen. And like to still be able to document something as it's happening, like even documentaries, like there's a story that they're already planning on telling. And so
Yeah,
all you got to do is put the pieces of the puzzle together and make a film out of it. But to make a film out of something when you have no idea what's going to happen in the next 10 minutes
yep,
and pull it off really well is a level of talent that a lot of people just don't have. I mean,
yeah,
this is be straight up, like people don't have that ability. There's not been like very many documentaries that have happened that way. Like people kept comparing us to that movie with Ewan McGregor in it, The Long Way Round. I don't know if you've seen it
I haven't
since we
seen
went
it.
on that trip. But Ewan McGregor went on a motorcycle trip around the entire world. It's a great. If you go on Amazon, you can buy it, and there's two seasons of it or whatever. And they filmed the whole thing. They had a film crew come with them or whatever. But that was like the only thing I can really compare what we did to, because even like Expedition Overland, it still kind of feels planned. Like everything they do just kind of feels too clean to me. Like, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like it's too.
Well, it's because they had a film crew following them, and so they're just filming everything. They
Yeah,
have somebody dedicated to film, or a couple people dedicated to film, and so you're able to capture literally everything, and you're able to kind of push and shove the story where you want. While like just us, like something can happen. It's like, where's the camera? Where's the camera? You know, because it's you're worrying about something else. It is definitely it's so hard because and also too, it's just like you don't want to just keep the camera rolling because then you
yeah,
got to go through all of that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a weird. It's definitely a weird kind of struggle, mental struggle to
Yeah,
kind of think about.
and you gotta edit and you gotta edit on the fly. So like, I mean, because we're
Yeah,
trying to upload every day, you can't have the camera rolling all the time because
right,
I mean, the majority of the day is spent editing. I
right.
mean, you were spending like 7, 8, 9 hours a day at a minimum editing. There was times you were up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm already sleeping. So by the time I wake up, you've only been sleeping for like 3 hours. And I'm starting to cook breakfast and I'm starting to get us packed up and all that stuff because we got a lot of driving to do. And I mean, that's super impressive. Like, and yeah, there are people that get it. There are people that understand what you went through and like what we did. And I feel like those are our hardcore followers for sure.
Yeah,
But then there's people that watch our stuff that like they just they haven't tried it, so they don't get it.
yeah,
And some people are just not intelligent enough to understand like what that level of involvement is. You know what I mean? And I don't wish it upon anybody. Like I would never again ask that of a stranger. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
would never, like at this point, if somebody again said, "Hey, you know what you should do is go on Craigslist and reach out to somebody to film you and Braxton's, so you and Braxton can just be you and Braxton," I'd be like, "No fucking way! I'm not going to ask somebody to do that again. There's no way."
Yeah. I
Because
mean,
even
it's,
then, trying to do it by yourself is just a whole other level. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because you do have to be filming all the time, I didn't even pretend from the beginning that I was ever going to release videos as that trip was going on. There's no fucking way that you
Yeah.
could do a trip like that, film it,
No.
and then upload every day.
Yeah.
No way.
That's not gonna happen. Yeah, because I was, as you were driving, I was editing. Like, there wasn't really a time, like you said, I was either filming or I'm editing. Like, I'm in the passenger seat, and it's surprising. I was really worried how I was going to edit because I get car sick. I don't think I ever got car sick, but
Yep.
I think that's because like I was like so focused, like I need to get this done. Like edit, like, oh, this is happening. Close the laptop, grab the camera. Um, but it was definitely nice having the duo and just like the responsibilities being split to where we can both focus on, you know, and we can both focus on what we need to focus on instead of trying to juggle all of this stuff. And like, that's why, like I always say, filming the trip by yourself is insane. Like, you gotta, just this stuff that you have to do, and then you gotta film it. It's, filming takes so much time just by yourself and setting up the camera and trying to get all the different angles and stuff. And
Yeah, and resources. I mean, you got to think
yeah,
about that. You have to store all this stuff. You have to keep this stuff safe. You have to keep your computer protected enough so that it doesn't. I mean, on one of the first days we were actually on the trail and our AC wasn't working and the Jeep loaded up with dust, like your computer was covered
oh
in
my,
dust. Like if it had gone haywire at that point in the trip, that would have been the end. You know what I mean? That would end for the channel, or we would have spent $1,800 on a new laptop, like
yeah,
6 days into the trip. I mean, stuff like that is just. I mean, and I guess like if we're gonna sit here and analyze like why we think the channel did so well, like that's all the stuff that kind of went into it. It was just that like we got along really well, we worked together well, we got it done. Like we did the
yeah,
trip in the amount of time that we said it was going to take, and we documented it and we uploaded it, and people got to see. It wasn't just so much that they got to see us progressing through the trip, having knowing that we knew absolutely nothing about what we were doing, but also like they got to see the channel grow as we grew. You know what I mean? So as we
yeah,
got further along in the trip, we were getting more subscribers, we were getting more views, and then after Expo, when everything started to blow up, we inspired other creators to kind of jump, throw in their stuff and feel like they could, if we could do it, if they can do it, we can do it. And I loved that was the vibe of our channel.
yeah,
Like I loved, because that was the whole point. Because for me, it wasn't about the channel blowing up. It was about inspiring my friends and family to like do something different and do something bold and not worry about the consequences of it. Just doing it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's the vibe that came out of the channel for both of us. And I think it's incredible. And like I said, man, I'm so grateful that we were able to pull it off, and that for the most part, I mean, it cost me a fortune,
yeah,
but for the most part, it was problem free. It was a ton of fun. And that was my first time seeing the country the way that we saw it too. I mean, like you
right,
said, Utah, like Arizona is now my favorite state. Like now feeling like I've been to 47 of the 50 states, and Arizona and Utah are like my favorites. And I've been back to Arizona several times since that trip. And like, I love Flagstaff. I love those surrounding areas. I love Sedona. I love those red canyons.
yeah.
Like,
There's so much to explore.
yeah, it's great. It's endless. I mean, you could start a whole new channel about just a single state, which is crazy. And just the fact that we were able to show people that are never going to be able to do that, like that we were able to show them like what the country looks like. And yeah, I don't know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely nice having that documented and just being going back, and especially at the level that I did. Like, even if I didn't even do it at that level, if it was just like just you know GoPro vlogs and stuff, just talking to the camera, it's still like almost like scrapbooking in a way,
Hmm.
extreme scrapbooking, what we did. But that's what I love of how we documented that, because then it's not just a memory that you're in a story that you're telling people. It's literally something that you can just, oh, you want to hear, watch my whole journey that I did, instead of me telling you. Um,
Yeah, and I've done that. And there's
yeah,
been times where like something's going on in my life, or I'll meet somebody for the first time that and we end up in a situation like, man, that reminds me so much of the time, blah, blah, blah. Hey, by the
yeah,
way, here's a link. If you got a
hmm
little bit of time, if you got 15 minutes tonight, while you're drinking a drink or eating dinner or something and you got time, like check this out. And the feedback that I get, like from those kinds of people, like it's just always been amazing. It's been uplifting. And
yeah.
I guess I don't know. I think like once I have a little bit more of a budget and I can afford a Toyota, maybe I'll get back into it. I feel like the Jeep is just gonna end up being like a farm vehicle that my kid's gonna drive around when he's like 11. You know what I mean? Just bouncing around our property like in that Jeep, and that's what it's gonna be. It's a toy at this point, and it's got a history attached to it. So like, it's invaluable to me. Like I've thought about selling it. I told my wife one night when I was like super drunk and I got all emotional, and I was like, if I ever tell you that I'm gonna sell this Jeep, you better talk me out of it. You know what I mean? And there's been times like I think I owe like $4,600 on it or something. It's not like I'm upside down, and it's worth so much more than that anyway. Even if it was just a random Jeep, it's worth more than that. But the
It's
fact
a
that it
Jeep.
has the story behind it, like it's got a personality. You know what I mean?
It
It's
does.
Oprah. It's
Oprah, yeah,
we never talked about that in the any of the episodes, but like it's big, black, and beautiful, and it's you know what I mean. It's powerful.
yeah,
Got a story. Like what vehicles have stories behind them? Not many. You know what I mean? Like you think about like Rufio from Overland, for over Expedition Overland. Like they name all their Jeeps and like
yeah.
they're not their Jeeps. I'm sorry, you guys don't drive Jeeps, but well, they have a Gladiator now, but
I
that's
feel like
that's
everybody's
super super
gladiator.
invaluable to me. Like
Yeah.
it's priceless, and I can't imagine myself getting rid of it. I've always said like, well, if it lasts long enough to the point that my wife is making good money and or my business is doing well, like I feel like if we gravitate towards, we're doing well in Peoria.
Hmm.
My business is doing well. I worked for a really great restaurant for a while, like the past almost 2 years. I'm a bar manager, and this place has done really well, and I've helped them do even better than they were doing. So like it's been lucrative for me, and I've met a lot of cool people. And so I feel like Peoria is home, which is weird because like I mean I definitely miss New York, but like I don't miss the stuff that some of my friends are doing back home. Like some of my friends are still doing the same stuff that we was talking about earlier, and
Yeah.
it feels nice to kind of have a clean slate. If we were to stay here, I think it would be fine, but like I just kind of look forward to just not worrying so much about the limitations of my projects that I work on are basically based on money. Like
Yeah.
I can't afford a bigger bus to turn into an RV. So I have this little bus, you know what I mean? And
Right.
and so like I'm looking forward to like being more comfortable financially and then letting my mind run wild with like a little bit more of a budget. I think it'll be great. I think it'll be great for the channel. I think it'll be great for my own personal happiness and stuff like that. So I'm excited, man. I'm curious to see how everything's going to pan out, but you guys stay tuned. Don't leave us. This is something new that we're trying out for sure. So we don't even know how this is going to be perceived by everybody, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that everybody's glad to have us back, and they were glad to when I posted however many videos, but then probably upset that I just disappeared again. Um, we're working on stuff.
yeah, it's what we do.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you were talking about like that, the first video that I put out when I came back about the vehicle I bought, it was, that's when I was thinking like, I have to use Trailspin as a creative outlet. Like doing the daily vlog and just vlogging just doesn't really cut it for me anymore, because it's just like, it's boring to me. Like
Right.
I'm making it like just doing the same exact thing every single day. And I was like, okay, how can I like really take it up a notch and just kind of think of it as like, if I was filming this for a client, they just bought a new Jeep, they're coming back to the channel, what can I do? And it kind of just, one thing led into another, thought of the commercial, having Big D, and I was just like, let's do it. And it's also because I also want it to be, again, a portfolio piece to where I can be like, oh, have you shot a video before that's like this? Yeah, here you go. I even had, I had a teleprompter. I had a whole shot list. Teleprompter
Really?
sucks. I hate using that. Yeah. But it's just more of ideas and like kind of the topics to stay. And that's kind of what I think how I'm going to do the next videos for Trailspin is just kind of, I just want to keep pushing myself but having fun. Like filming that Big D stuff was really fun to film. And then just seeing like the outcome of the whole video that I put together, it was really cool finally having like an idea and planning everything out and putting it all together and come out to how I envisioned it. Because usually it's like, I think what I had like through Southeast Asia and other times that I've vlogged, like the main issue was that what am I doing? Like, I don't have an idea. Like I feel like I can create a better product by planning ahead of time instead of just filming in the moment, because then I can think of all the B-roll shots. I can think of everything else that I would need to film. And I actually had to do a couple of like pickup shots and stuff. So yeah, it's at this point, like I'm just having fun. I am really trying to go camping on my birthday. And if we do, it's going to be with my girlfriend. And so that's going to be her first time camping. We actually did, our last stop coming back from Southeast Asia. So we're in Southeast Asia. We were in Tokyo for like 2 weeks, but then I figured, huh?
I said, really? I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was cause, one of our friends had celebrating their birthday there. And so we met them there. And then I found out that the flight from Tokyo back to Chicago was like $700, but then the flight from Tokyo to Hawaii to Chicago was $700. So we made a pit stop in Hawaii. And we rented a van, and so we stayed in a van for a whole week while we were on Maui, and it was fun. It was like that van was like I think $200 a night, and so like that we basically spent $1,000 a person that just in that 1 week in Hawaii. But it was so much
like,
fun.
but it was like built out like an RV, like it was like a Sprinter van, or
No, it was a regular like Econoline, or maybe like
like a conversion van. Like, did
not
it
a
have a
conversion,
bed in it, or you guys just kind of
like it was a converted white van. Like the regular white van. It wasn't high top or anything like that. So it had a bed in the back. It was very basic, super basic. Basically had a bed in the back, some cabinets, and then it had like a water pump for water, and then lights, like super basic. But honestly, it was so much fun. Just being able to, roam around. And that was kind of like me living out the van life. I was actually honestly almost thinking of buying a van instead of the Jeep. Just because of how I feel like I can live in a van and not like live in a Jeep. I feel like living in a Jeep would just be really annoying for me. But, yeah, so that was her first experience of kind of like camping, my girlfriend, but then she'll be out with me when we go camping for like a couple days. And so, yeah, so we're going to go to, I think, Ocala National Forest, which is like, I think one of Florida's only national parks or something. Go out there exploring. And hopefully I can get the Jeep fixed by then.
you have a couple weeks.
I do. And I'm going to work on it tomorrow. And then the last thing is just trying to get the drive shaft on and seeing if my 4-wheel drive works, because I was having issues with that. And I think it was just because all the U-joints on my front drive shaft were gone to shit. So
I don't know. I was thinking, since I have the kid now, that it would probably be the first time I would be like camping would be in my backyard.
Yeah.
Just to try to see like how it would go. Obviously when it gets warmer, I'm not going to put him through all that nonsense of like sub-zero temperatures and all that. But I'm looking forward to that, even if it's just in the backyard. And the other day, I had a client of mine over, and we drank some whiskey, and I was cooking on the barbecue, and had a little fire pit going, and it was cold as hell. And I was just like, man, this might be the closest thing I get to camping for like a long time. But I hope not. Like I would, my wife never been camping. The time we did go to the sand dunes, I didn't do a video about it. She went with me. I let her drive up the highest sand dune in the Jeep by herself. Like, well, I mean, I was in the Jeep with her,
Yeah.
and I filmed it on my phone. But we were supposed to go camping at the spot me and Leo camped at, in the video where I did the whole like overlanders for hire, when I was like talking about
Oh
like
yeah.
quitting everything and like focusing full time on the videos and stuff like that. I went back to that campsite, and I don't know what the difference was, but there was millions of mosquitoes, and I didn't have windows on the Jeep. Like we went out there, and I didn't even have window. I wanted to put the top down. I wanted to be able to bring a bunch of stuff, but I didn't want to have the zip up windows like taking up space. So I was like, oh, screw it. Like we'll go. What's the worst can happen? And so we just got destroyed. Like Roscoe got bit like hundreds of times. So I was even spraying DEET on the dog. I didn't know if I could or not. I just felt so bad. And then it started pouring. Like we had no windows on the Jeep. Like, I mean, we had the windows that roll up on the actual Jeep, but the back, like where all our stuff was just
Yeah.
exposed to the weather. And we ended up getting a hotel, and that was going to be my wife's first like camping experience. So like when we got to the campsite and there was mosquitoes, I was like, well, I can make this work. Like, you know, I'll set the tent up and we'll just hang out inside the tent. And then the more I kept talking about it, she's looking at me like, this sounds miserable. Like, not only do I not want to camp, but like now
Yeah.
you're saying that like we're trapped inside the tent, and the magic of that campsite like wasn't there.
Right.
And so we still have not gone camping together. My wife and I have been together 10 years. We've been married for 5 years, almost 6 years. We haven't been camping together, but like I just want her to kind of experience like the good side of camping, because like really camping is super therapeutic, and
It is.
it's a ton of fun. And so that's cool, man, that you guys are doing that. Like you're not gonna film it, I'm guessing. You're gonna.
No, I'm gonna film it, but I don't know when I'm gonna film yet. So I'm gonna go into it with an idea before. I'm not gonna just film it to just film it. Like, hey guys, I'm going camping. I'm not. I'm gonna film it how I want to film it. Now I really want to make every video I put out for Trailspin. I really want it to be like the best video that I can ever possibly make, or else it's just not really worth it for me. It's not. I don't really gain anything because I don't want to just put out a video to just put out a video. I want to put out a video that I'm really proud of and like show off, basically, like, listen up guys. And that's part of the reason why, like, I didn't want to come back with a video and be like, hey guys, I'm back, I bought a Jeep, this and that. No, I'm like, listen up guys, I bought a freaking Jeep and I'm back. Okay. I'm back. And then I stopped posting. But
Dude,
yeah,
I watched that video for the first time with my in-laws.
Yeah.
And not knowing, because when you told me it was happening, you know,
Yeah.
you were like, are you okay with first of all, are you okay with this? And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, straight up, if you want to take the entire channel, you can have it. And then you were also like, don't you want to kind of know like what it's about? And I was like, no. Do you want to see the video before I upload it? I was like, no.
Okay.
Don't. And
yeah,
my in-laws absolutely love you. You met them once. Like we went to my in-laws house like when we were in New York, and that's where we loaded up the Jeep for the first time.
I remember that. And with messing with the shower buddy or whatever it was called.
Yeah, we mounted the road shower there, and that's where we took everything out of the U-Haul trailer and put it in their driveway, and then we learned how we were going to load up the Jeep for the first time for 6 weeks. Yep. Definitely needed to make some changes after that. So load the video up. We're all sitting in the living room, and we watched the video for the first time, and I was just like, when the big D part came up, I was just like, you know, like when you were a kid and you were watching movies with your parents and they didn't know that there was like a sex scene.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they stick their hands over your eyes and like, you can't see that, but you can still hear it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was kind of the tension that was in the room. But then we all just kind of looked at each other and we were just cracking up, like, because it was good. It was you know what I mean? It was like, that's Braxton. That's like his sense of humor. And that's like, that's what Trailspin's all about. And so like I couldn't have been more excited when that video came out. I wish it like went completely bananas viral and all that stuff. It
Yeah.
deserved to, and it was like well thought out. And I know exactly what you're saying. When I do videos now, like I want them to be like the best that they can be. And
Yeah.
knowing that I know how to operate a camera. So like I hate the thought of like just kind of holding my phone and documenting. Like when there was another thing about the bus. It was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like I want to build a bus, but and I want to document it, but I just don't want it to just be like, oh, here I am, like, oh, look at me, like the bus is in the
Yeah.
background, I'm holding the camera in my face, and like,
You don't want to do what anybody else
the
can do.
camera's still in my face, but like, look at what's going on behind me. I just
Yeah.
didn't want it to be like that. I wanted to be like a story behind it, but I just didn't want to put all the time and energy that it would take. I mean, how long did it take you to kind of come up with the concept and kind of lay it out? And
That was honestly like, I mean, to thinking about it, it took like 3 separate days of filming. So like all the days stuff, we filmed all the big D stuff in about like 4 to 5 hours. It's like 30 seconds. That took like 4 to 5 hours because it's like you got to get multiple takes. You're rethinking some ideas. I have to mic myself up. And then I had like the night stuff in the beginning. We filmed, took me probably about 3 hours, 3 or 4 hours. Cause
for
the
like
first night, yeah.
30
And
seconds of, yeah.
yeah. And that's how long things take. And that's what I was like, if I'm going to spend time on this, like I really want to I just don't, I'm done releasing crap content. I'm done. I've released enough. Just throw them out videos. I'm done. Like it's not worth my time. I'd rather spend the time, make a project that I'm super happy about. Yeah. So that took 2 separate days because I had my girlfriend like waving the light around and I was messing around with the slider, but then I ended up using a gimbal. And then the stuff that was talking, like me just talking in front of the Jeep, that took maybe like 2.5 hours. I think I had to refilm one of those, but it didn't really take that long because I actually scripted that whole thing out. I had it on a teleprompter because I got a teleprompter for my camera. And that actually helped. I mean, I feel like all the time, the pre-production too, just thinking it out, like helped drastically, obviously. And
Yeah,
like,
because
I really,
you had told me, I feel like weeks in advance, that you had a concept
yeah,
for like what the video is going to be about. And
yeah. Even before I had the vehicle, I didn't have Big D's part, but I had that first intro sequence. I was like, I want it to be dark. Like I like the lights versus lockers video that we had. When it was at night, I was like, I want it to be at night. I want it to be kind of like abstract shots. It's a vehicle, obviously, but you don't know what it is. Like that's the storytelling. Like, oh, he bought a vehicle. What vehicle is that? And you're watching it, like trying to guess what it is. That was every single shot in there was thought out. Like I'm next to the tire. Like, let me make sure it's angled right.
yeah, it looked
Yeah.
great. I mean, shit. I had no idea that it took that long, but I mean, I
Yeah.
guess looking back on it, I mean, to get those kinds of shots, I mean, that's Hollywood level type stuff. Like, I mean, I
Yeah.
know that it's just a video about a Jeep, but like the way the light, one of the most striking shots during that sequence, like was underneath the vehicle, and the way the light was kind of creating this like arcing kind of like, I mean, it was, to me as a filmmaker,
Yeah.
um, it was obvious that there was a light moving while the camera was moving. But then other, people who don't have experience with that probably were looking at just that little, just a blip. You know what I mean? It's a literally, it was like a 2 second thing. To why it was so striking, and why something like that looks so good. I didn't know if you like had it in a garage with all the lights off. Like that was outside. Like you were,
Yeah. That was out all in my driveway. It was just
yeah.
at night with my girlfriend, just waving the light around.
Just taking photos at night is so involved. Like
Yeah.
to try to make something look that good, it speaks volumes to whatever camera you were using, and stuff like that, because the black spots were not, there was no noise in them. It's not like the camera was trying to make up for the difference. That's definitely something that somebody who knows what they're doing created. It's not like something that somebody could just pick up a camera and go do.
Yeah.
Um, the music that was in the background and stuff, like it brought me back to like why I was so obsessed with like the original series, like the Transamerica Trail stuff, is because during the cinematic parts of that series
Yeah.
gave me goosebumps. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
knowing that we were creating something like that most people just cannot fathom how to do, and then to have this waiting period of like not knowing what was going on, and the anticipation that you were coming out with a new video. I wanted to be like, when you kept saying, don't you want to see it first? And I was like, nah, I don't. It was because like I just wanted to like just soak it in. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it did. Like watching that shit, like that first opening sequence gave me goosebumps again. And I was just like, damn, like, dude, he's back. Like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is amazing. And when I told you, like, take the reins and take the channel over, I meant that because I have full faith in that you're able to create something that I would enjoy watching.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we've never really talked about how you created that episode, and I don't really think people understand the depth of like what's involved with doing something that's that well done. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
something is like that put together. When you watch a movie and you watch the credits at the end of a movie, there are literally hundreds of people
Yeah.
involved. And to try to be one person and pull that off by yourself is like, it's commendable and it's awesome. So
Yeah. Thanks. That's why that's why I'm excited that you got into filmmaking. So then it's just like whenever we go on a trip, like it's
I
going to
know
be
it's gonna be
bonkers.
insane. I know.
It's going to be bonkers. So
Well, that's why, like, even when I got the airplane hangar and stuff, like I was thinking about, so the air, to me, like the airplane hangar, we kind of touched on this the other day when we were just kind
yeah.
of testing all this stuff out. I really wanted that airplane hangar to be like this central like trail spin, like just the project center, you know what I mean? So like if you were still in Chicago at this time, like I would try to make sure that you were like coming out for like days at a time so we could film stuff. And I was like, in my head I was like, oh, maybe I'll be able to talk him into coming back, but if not, like, well, maybe I'll meet somebody local. And it was never like, oh, I can't wait for like me, myself and I to like turn this into something. But like just the fact that it's like, it's the high ceilings and the lighting is perfect, and it's got that corrugated steel like in the background and all these
Yeah.
like just this stuff that's like, I've always just kind of pictured, you know, it's again, it's like Expedition Overland, like they have their hangar like where all their vehicles are worked on or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like when I had the Jeep parked in and the bus, and I was like looking around, I was like, man, it has this like loft. I was like, I'm gonna put a little like podcast studio up in the loft, video studio that like I could, that's talking head stuff. And then it was such an overwhelming feeling, like, and plus there's no climate control, there's no running water, there's none of this stuff. So like it wasn't like the perfect situation. But I kept thinking like this is what the channel needs. Like what it needs is like this center of operations. It's like
Yeah.
where we can come together and like work on a vehicle. And I was like, wow, man, it would be cool if like Braxton, like once I found out that you bought a Jeep, I was like, well, just in my head, I was like, man, wouldn't it be so cool if he like brought it up here and just spent a couple weeks here working on it, where I could have my resources of like people I know that know how to work on vehicles, or like I know a guy that has a lift, or like, you know, we could do all this stuff and just
Yeah.
focus like on this like home base. It is kind of tough that like we live so far apart, because like
Yeah.
even when you were struggling, like when you were calling me up like after the first episode, you're like, oh, I got to do the axles, or like I got the brakes, or this or that or whatever, and I don't know what I'm doing. I was like, damn, if I was down there, like not only would I be able to help you, but it would make for really good content, because like we'd be together, you know what I mean? Like it would be like Braxton and Brandon like are like working on Braxton's Jeep. And it does kind of still kind of sucks. Like I wish I could help out, and I do kind of wish you were up here too, because like you're a driving force like behind the channel, and it just, you know, it's all good. It's all good. Like we're both doing our shit from separate angles. And
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it goes hand in hand. People want both of us. So it's, we just got to figure some stuff out. But I guess right now it's literally, I mean, with COVID and everything, but, we're still figuring it out.
yeah,
Trying to, I just talking about the trip, that the Transamerica Trail makes me want to go on a trip. Like I'm like, dang, like just
dude,
thinking about all,
I'm not gonna
what?
lie. I've watched it from beginning to end, all episodes. I mean, if I'm being generous, 10 times.
Wow.
For sure, at least 5 times. And possibly 15 times. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I think you rewatched it. It was like literally right when we were done.
yeah, on the trip. I mean, even on the trip at one point, I watched, like, there was one night, I think we were in Colorado and we got a little bit of extracurricular stuff that we had purchased while
Yeah.
we were in Colorado. And I was inspired enough to kind of watch as much as I could. And yeah, dude, like, there's been, I mean, my son's already seen the first half. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I watch it all the time. It's because it's a huge monumental time in my life, and to have it documented, to have something like that instrumental in a lot of the decisions that I make and a lot of the reason why I think the way I think, it seriously was like a really, really, really big deal. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And again, like, I'm just so grateful that it was not only documented. It to say that it was documented is understating like what happened. You were able
Right.
to create something that was just epic. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, because like, not it was an epic trip. Like, and anybody who was ever blessed enough to be able to do what we did would probably think back on that time in their life and say, wow, that was amazing. But to actually be able to see it is a blessing. You know what I mean? Like, it's so incredible just to be able to go back and watch it. And it's a high, you know what I mean? It's almost like doing a drug. It's like to go back and watch it, and the music selection is like perfect. And like a lot of the shots are created, like, you know, like you said, when you get to the engineer past like the beginning,
Yeah.
when we left the cliffhanger, and obviously everybody kind of after had watched the episode before that knew that we were going to continue with the trip, because if we weren't, we would have been heartbroken. You would have seen it all over our faces. We were just kind of like, well, I guess you just have to wait. And then the whole like TrailspinTV is back, bitches. Like, still to this day, like, and the way the fucking music just kicks back in, and like, it's just the way that happened, just organically. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know you were filming me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You just stuck a camera in my face like you had always done through the entire thing. And I was just like, that was the first thing that came to my head.
Mm-hmm.
It still gives me goosebumps every time that I watch it. Like, it's a buzz. You know what I mean? You captured a feeling that like nobody else could ever describe or even have. Like,
Yeah.
and that's a talent. You know what I mean? Like, that is like, there could have been like, it could have been anybody else. Like, and I don't think they would have captured that moment any better than you and I did. You know what I mean? Like, and then obviously we did Engineers Pass. So like,
Yeah.
everything in that episode is epic. I think it's like 36 minutes long too. It's like one of the
It is.
it's like one of the longest episodes. I went back and I watched the Colorado sand dunes, the real version,
Yeah.
like the one with the
Yeah.
drone footage and stuff, because I had a friend that's been to to the dunes before, and I was like, dude, we have drone footage of that. He's like, what do you mean? How? Like, you're not supposed to fly drones there. I'm like, yeah, we know that now.
Yeah.
Thanks to our faithful followers, we know that. Like,
Yeah.
but it's there. Like, the episode is still there. If anybody's interested and wants to actually see that, just post below. You could say, hey, show me the Colorado dunes from the air. We have it.
Yeah.
You'll get exclusive access because you've waited now 3 hours and I think 5 minutes to
Dang.
hear us say that we still have it. And it's, dude, the episode's so much better with the drone footage.
Oh yeah, I was so heartbroken when they sent the message. I was just like, at first, I honestly thought that because I got confused. Because basically, in national forests, you're not allowed to fly a drone unless you have approval. But national parks, you can. But I always get those two mixed up. And somebody commented, "Huh?
Are you serious? I still to this day did not know. I'm pretty sure
Did not."
national parks and national forests are the same as far as drones go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Then we would have to take down like all of our videos.
No, because you're confusing national parks and national forests. So
That's
the sand dunes are a national park.
Yeah,
So
that's what.
fly drones. Yeah, right. So I
Yeah,
got confused.
you can't fly drones in national parks, but national. I always get national parks and national forests, parks and forests confused. So
Mixed up.
forests are you usually have to pay to get in, and you got to forest parks. National
Parks.
park.
Yeah.
Parks, you can't fly drones.
Right. And you got to pay to get in, usually. National
Yeah.
Forest, you don't.
Yeah, and you camp for free in forests and all of that. And so I thought that basically we had to take all the Trailspin stuff down because of that. But then once I found out that it was only the episode, I was like, oh, thank goodness. But then still, I was like, what am I going to put now? Like, I just have this big hole that usually B-roll goes there, but had to make it work. And thinking about it, I think
It ended up being an okay, it was still a good episode.
yeah.
Like, because the dunes, like, I remember saying, like, this isn't part of the Transamerica Trail. And because it's not, the Transamerica Trail sucks. Like I said,
Yeah.
and I was super grateful that Aaron said that it would suck without, he said it would suck. And then Rob was like, you guys really, really should try to check this out. And then what's crazy is because what we were about to do, that Medina Pass or whatever, how we ended up where we ended up, how we ended up at the entrance to the dunes, what we were about to do, that ridge or whatever, the purple, it was purple something. Like, it had a weird name where we almost went instead of going to the dunes. Like, that still felt like it was about to be absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And I still kind of want to go back to that point because, like, I remember that day, like, I mean, I was pissed off. That was one of the days that you have me on camera going, get the fucking camera out of my face. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm so pissed off right now. And still to this day, like, everybody, I've had people comment and go, well, it's so easy to find camping. All you need to do is blah, 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 or whatever. Like, no, it needs to be to the point that, like, you should be able to go on your phone and reserve a spot at a campsite.
Yeah.
You should be able to go on your phone and pay for tickets to enter the dunes or enter whatever. Like, I cannot believe that in 2020 or 2021, you'd still probably have a problem, like, just paying for something that they want you to pay for. And how much money do they lose by not making it easier to pay for that kind of stuff online?
Yeah. Because it's hard to say, just because it's like we entered the sand dunes from a completely off-road back entrance. Like, you got to have an off-road vehicle in order to get there. And so we were confused because it said, like, all visitors must pay
at the gate, or
we're like, where? Because but yeah, and then you ended up coming in behind, and that drive honestly is my favorite. Like, coming into the sand dunes on the regular road is just like, yeah, you got dunes in the mountains right there, but like, you come out through the mountains, then you look back, you're like, we just came out of there, there's dunes right here. Like, that's crazy.
You guys went back. You and your girlfriend went back, right? Like, you went to the Colorado dunes after that, didn't you?
Yeah, we went and filmed. I filmed like a camera vlog. Yeah, we walked up in there. Yeah.
Which was awesome. I thought it was cool because I had already known that we had already been there.
Yeah.
On the outskirts. Like, because when you have a vehicle, you can't get up in there unless you really, we could have parked somewhere and walked. But the fact that you guys actually took the time to, like, walk
up in there. Yeah, definitely. If anybody goes there, you want to walk up in the dunes. Like, most people just kind of like go up to the front and it's just basically a big pile of sand, but you want to like go up top to where you can just see dunes. It's like you think you're in like the Sahara Desert or whatever.
Yeah, and again, you can kind of see that from the drone footage. So, like, hit us up in the links below, and we'll shoot that to you. We're not scared,
honestly. So I've been thinking of getting into first-person drone stuff.
Me too.
Because, like, thinking of all the shots that, like, I was thinking of, like, oh, it'd be so dope. Like, we're just driving along and you're just flinging this drone around. Like, oh my God, you get some crazy shots.
So I never really cared about that until, so again, with Aaron Brown, which I touched on this before, has had me come out for, I think, like 4 or 5 land speed record events where I'm chasing race cars that are doing 200 plus miles an hour with a drone that does about 35 miles an hour. But I've seen videos of like dirt track racing and stuff like that, where like drones are literally like circling cars that are doing like 140 miles an hour, but they're doing 360s around the car, or drift races where like the drone is kind of floating in front of the car and like,
touching the car. It's
there. That is absolutely insane. Like knowing how to fly a drone and in ways that most people can't. Like, I mean, my new drone now is I got the Mavic 2 Pro, which does like 45 miles an hour in sport mode. And I've done some pretty crazy stuff that I probably shouldn't even be doing with a $1,800 drone. But to know like what a drone pilot is doing in these, and I guess when we go back to edit this video, maybe I'll link, if you've made it this far, you deserve it, but I'll link to the kind of video that I'm talking about. But there's a specific dirt track race that I've seen. And there's also this one video with these drift cars where it's Tokyo drift type stuff where like the drone is literally like the car is here and the drone is in front of it. And I mean, the car is doing 89 miles an hour and the drone is just on the corner of the car holding its position and then just circling around the car. And then like, I mean, you can only do that with an FPV drone. And it's super inspiring to me. So like, we'll see who gets there first, me or you, but one of us will.
Let me order one right now.
And I've already got the clientele that could use this kind of, I mean, to have a drone that could do like 150, 160 miles an hour in a drag race situation would be super cool because before the car hits 200 miles, you could kind of be circling around it and doing these crazy shots, like super dynamic shots. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I have the budget for it because I know that in order to get that kind of rig to be able to do those kinds of shots, it costs a few $1,000s. But
yeah, you got to be prepared to crash it all the time
and practice tons and tons of practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, if either one of us had that ability on that trip to like do those kinds of shots in the areas that we're in, man, holy hell!
Stay tuned.
I don't know, man. We're well over 3 hours. You want to wrap this up? Like we'll save some stuff for episode 2 or
can, if you want, we can probably come back with other topics and questions and whatnot.
Yeah. I think, and again, if you guys are still listening, God bless. It's been over 3 hours. So I don't know what you do in your life that you have the time to listen to 3 hours of audio. And I definitely don't know what you have time where you would have time to watch 3 hours of video on YouTube.
You should probably split it.
Maybe. If we don't split it, you probably watched like 23 commercials already because YouTube is now ridiculous with the commercials. It's
yeah.
Anyway, we thank you for tuning in, Braxton. Always a pleasure.
Always.
I think this is cool. Like I think this gives us a good way to talk about stuff, and I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to be back.
Yeah, me too. I was gonna say, if anybody has any questions on anything or topics or ideas or anything, comment. Yeah. Let us know.
Drop it in the comments. We'll spend the next few days answering every comment. But if you try to comment like a year from now, sorry. We're probably off doing something else by that point. So.
Yeah, no one knows.
So yeah, that was episode 1 of Trailspin FM. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we'll see you the next time.
Bye. Peace.